It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host John Riley with his opinions from left field, and we welcome you. Thursday podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Got projects, they've got materials. What ideas? They can be your best friend, your consultant. Invite you to go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. As we say, build it, fix it, you will enjoy it in 2026, courtesy of DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, good afternoon. We got a lot to talk about. A, baseball pennant races. B, aftermath of the baseball trading deadline. C, injuries in pitching. D, all things NFL, NBA, NHL. World Cup will not go away. LIV is front and center. Wow, a lot of headlines to talk about. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We have an NFL game tonight.
Thursday night, Hall of Fame game. Yes, we do. 5 o'clock hour.
Here we go. It's all starting all over again.
Yeah, very much so. Listen, we're going to do a lot of unique and different things on this podcast because we do sports talk the way it should be done. Topics on the table, and then we let you take over the podcast. It's called Fans Forum. John, for the people on live stream who've never, ever participated, how do they jump to the front of the line and participate in what we came up with the idea? Get them involved, Fans Forum.
Yeah, you see, Hacksaw invented bulletin board chat, before the internet. So we invented this Fans Forum, this opportunity for you to get involved and get your hot take out there. So if you have a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat on YouTube, X, or on Facebook. I already see Teamer and XX Revolution is already in the house, Lee.
First timers, jump on board, jump in early, get ready to make a statement that we can argue about. Fans Forum coming up right at the end of this podcast. A reminder, you like sports? Of course you do. That's why you're on this podcast with us. We write about sports every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Have you ever sampled my website? It's absolutely free. LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You read it once. It's there first thing every morning. I guarantee you will read it virtually every day because you won't get the summary in the world of sports that I offer anywhere else, and it's absolutely free. Best 15 minutes in sports. I write a column, one man's opinion column every day. Sometimes you'll agree, a bunch of times you may disagree. That's okay. Invite you to read it. And I want you to join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. That way you get on the email list because John and I send out 2 sports newsletters every day to our listeners, our followers, but you have to be a member of the Insiders Group. That is absolutely free. Just fill out the orange box on the homepage on my website. John, I'm ready to go. You ready to talk baseball? Because we're going to be spraying hits and opinions all over the field today.
All right, well, let's go. Let's talk about the Padres, these new pitchers they added.
So here's the burning question. Did the Padres trade themselves into the baseball pennant race? Did the Padres general manager save the season? Did the Padres general manager maybe save his job? Or has the Padres general manager created a real mess for himself going forward? At first glance, the acquisitions of Robbie Ray and Casey Mize are pretty solid. These guys are proven middle-of-the-rotation guys. But the price tag is a bit hefty. Please understand, these guys are 2-month rentals who become free agents at high price tags in November. Padres gave up 4 more prospects to rent these guys. They're also taking on $6 million of salary. Padre payroll as of this hour is now $228 million, John, and their luxury tax payment is an additional $9 million. So they didn't get these guys for free because they paid a price for the future guys they let go, and they're paying a price in terms of dollars right now. In terms of Robbie Ray, venerable veteran. Guy's got 98 career wins. Guy's trustworthy. Guy's having a real banner, find the fountain season. He's pitched really, really well. Mize had pitched the best he's ever pitched in Detroit, even though he got strafed in his first outing last night in Arizona. I think in the bigger picture, there's a better starting rotation right now, a safer starting rotation right now than they had a week ago when we were doing our baseball trading deadline preview show. Now, there are other wild card angles to this whole equation. What is the status of Nick Pivetta after the scare pitching in Class A ball, Lake Elsinore? What is the status of Joe Musgrove after he went 2 2/3 innings? There are a lot of storylines there that we're going to discuss in just a second about these guys, but we don't know where these guys realistically are. Pivetta had the scare because he had pain in the forearm elbow area, came off the mound after 14 pitches. Now, it might have been a cramp, but it scared the hell out of him. And he came off the mound, rested, went back into the tunnel, did some stretching, said, let me throw the ball a little bit, and wound up throwing a bullpen, 20 pitches, no setback. Yesterday, he did 20 long tosses in the outfield. No velocity, just throw it, no pain so far. Musgrove got through his 2 2/3 innings without any setback. He's gone through his second long toss. He will throw a bullpen. We believe that Musgrove is going to throw his next rehab on Sunday. Pivetta, if there's no setbacks, might try to pitch again this coming Tuesday. So that's where we are with the Padres in terms of the pitching staff. I think they're in much better shape with the addition of the giant left-hander and the tiger right-hander. The batting order, though, has to salvage the season. That's the big issue of where this team is, John, right now, as it relates. They need to continue to hit, and some of these guys are not hitting again. Big issue there. On top of all that, did you check the email in your inbox? Did you get the letter from Eric Grupner? Padres are raising ticket prices for the 6th year in a row, despite this summer of underachievement. They're raising ticket prices 3% more. That's 60% price increase in 6 years, and they haven't gotten to the World Series yet, despite all the things they've tried to do, despite all the promises. So, John, just quickly give me your response. Like, dislike the trade, like, dislike the price they had to pay to make the trade. You like, dislike the rotation where it is at this hour. Concerned about the batting order, concerned what's still ahead in the next 50 games of the schedule.
Well, it's like the old classic of what does your brain think and what does your heart think? And my brain said from the very beginning that this is not the year for the Padres, and they should have been sellers at the draft, at the MLB trade deadline. But they are in the contention. They're like just 1 or 2 games out from the last wild card spot. Adding these guys will make the last 2 months of the season interesting. I mean, it was disappointing to see Mize last night. It was interesting in the first 2 innings, he was getting in trouble, got traffic on the bases, but he always found a way out of it. And I'm like, all right, we've got a veteran here. He's going to be okay. And then he got lit up. But, Robbie Ray, when I went to that game when Robbie Ray pitched at Petco, and he looked terrific. 6 solid shutout innings. So, but right now, the Padres, they faced with this kid, Matt Bratt, and he went 7 innings, gave up only 1 hit, I think like 9 strikeouts. I mean, it was ridiculous how poorly the offense performed against him in the first 7. I know Tatis hit that 465-foot bomb in the 9th. And even, Gage Workman got, cleared the bases with a double, but it was too little too late. I think that even if Robbie Ray and Casey Mize perform as we hope, and you get one of Musgrove or Pivetta, I still think the Padres will be lucky to maybe get out of the first round of the wild card playoffs. This is not the yearly.
Do you think they overpaid to rent these guys for 2 months? Do you think Preller did this to save his job and save the season? What do you think?
Well, no, it wasn't a big sellout. I mean, yeah, sure, they gave up a guy who was like in Class A ball, or maybe he was even in the camps. And I saw he hit a bomb last night for the Giants. But you know what? These are all prospects, and we all know that our farm system is crap, with the exception of Ethan Salas, who's the only decent player that we have in our farm system, or at least anyone that's major league ready. So these guys are years away. I mean, I'm not worried about it. And what the Padres should be doing is really, ideally, is stocking up on keeping talent. But if you are going to make a trade, the right thing to do is to trade the talent you have in the minor league system, because that's the currency he has. The problem is that the cupboard is bare. I mean, this is all we were going to get. I mean, there's no way the Padres could have been in on SKUBAL or any of the other higher price free agents. So, by the way, I want to say one more thing is that you're always belly aching about every time that the Padres raise their prices. And come on, man, I looked it up. They're number 8 in Major League Baseball. It's not like they're the highest cost team in the United States, and they're putting a competitive roster on the field. I mean, what do you expect? You think they should cut their prices? Then you're not going to have as good of a payroll. And by the way, people show up to Petco. That's a signal that people want more Padre baseball. So an increase of like 3% on the ticket prices, no big deal.
Except that 60% over 6 years. That is a big deal. Okay, co-host dislikes what the other host had to say. That's okay. You could argue with me, but I think you'd be wrong because the paying public has to pay more. Hey, by the way, sidebar story before we go to the next big topic. They DFA'd German Marquez. They lost Matt Waldron, claimed by Toronto. They kept Canning. A little bit surprised with how the shuffling of the pitching wound up.
Not really. I mean, maybe Canning should have been let go, prior to German Marquez. But, Waldron has been given more opportunities. The Padres know what they've got with Waldron. It was time for him to move on, change of scenery. But, in the end, we need to flush out the lower price talent. I mean, Marquez was one of those lottery tickets. He sort of panned out a little bit here and there, but overall, it wasn't a good gamble.
If the Padres hit, and we had this nice little spell against bad pitching, but if the Padres hit like they did, and they get Robbie Ray, Mize, King, Buehler to be stable, and they got the bullpen still intact, do you think they scare anybody in the National League? I mean, do you think they'd scare Atlanta? Do you think they'd scare the Cubs if the Padres played up to their potential? I mean, they're not going to scare Milwaukee or the Dodgers, are they? Do they scare anybody if they hit on all cylinders with these recent acquisitions and everybody else comes together?
Yeah, only if you buy into the canned cliche phrases. Oh, that team's got Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis, and man, anything can happen with those guys. But come on, I mean, we all have seen this season it's been sputtering. We get teased with winning streaks. This is not the year. So I would imagine most teams are saying, hey, maybe we can play the Padres on a down year. And, we're getting Casey Mize, who had a rough outing. The Padres aren't going to frighten anyone. I mean, even with Tatis rediscovering his power, the Padres aren't going to frighten anyone. Manny Machado is still not hitting much higher than, 220 by now, Lee?
End of the day, is this the first time all year your cup is half empty rather than half full? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, as a fan, I'm always trying to be optimistic. That's why I have the love, hate, or brain heart problem here with this trade deadline. My brain says sell, but my heart says, hey, we got 2 new guys. Let's go give it a shot. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Okay. I'm still going to be, as a fan, I'm still going to be optimistic. I'm still going to cheer. I'm still going to hope they make the playoffs. I'm hoping they go on a miracle run, but I'm not counting on it. I'm not betting the house on it. I just hope we have like a Cinderella season, Lee.
Okay, we put cards on the table about what the Padres did at the baseball trading deadline. Now, there's a sidebar story that we're going to talk about because I think all of us were anticipating, hoping that we would get good response from Pivetta and Musgrove in the first rehab start. One didn't, the other I thought did, but it brought to mind comments and quotes that I had gathered from interviewing guys and players and pitchers who've come through all this. And a chunk of this also involves Walker Buehler. These guys who have traveled what I call the long, lonely road of rehab. John, I went back into my notebook and dug out all the direct quotes from these pitchers who have traveled this road to get to this point. Buehler's come back twice from it. Musgrove's attempting to come back a second time. Pivetta has had different problems with the forearm. At this point is not back. But look at these quotes. You have to marry your body and your mind. Your mind says one thing, your body does something else. It feels like you have PTSD in your elbow. You go to the mound and you have to hunt for the feel you once had. I can't chase the flamethrower ghost that I used to be. I now have to search for my skills. Those are comments from Buehler. The next set of comments are from Musgrove. I've had to learn to throw differently. You're not going to be who you were in Houston or Pittsburgh. You need to be who you're going to be now. You don't understand the mental toll it takes. Understand this, though. The past version of yourself no longer exists. John, could you imagine living through 2 years of rehab on a day-by-day basis with the ups, the downs, the good stretches, the bad stretches, the unknown? What do I feel? Will I feel better tomorrow? What happens if I don't feel? The mental purge that takes place. Could you imagine having to cope with that for a year, or in Joe Musgrove's case, 2 years, or in Walker Buehler's case, twice over the course of his career? Like I said, the bottom line is rehab is along the road, but I thought the fans would find it fascinating when I went back in my notebook and dug out the quotes from the guys that I talked to who walked down that road. What's your reaction?
That last quote hits hard. Past version of yourself does not exist. I mean, that's heavy right there, man. I mean, and I know Walker Buehler's talked a lot about that, where, he has to just admit that he no longer has that flamethrower. The other one that hit me there was to feel like PTSD in the elbow, because they're probably always like this underlying fear to just let it rip, because they think that the elbow is going to blow up again. So these guys are going through it. And when Pivetta, marched off the mound kind of angrily or frustrated, I was feeling that with him. And it's a great thing that, it's turned out it wasn't as devastating of a problem, just a little bit of discomfort. But you like to see these guys come back, especially Joe. I mean, because Joe's our guy, he's our local guy. And I saw pictures of Pivetta and Musgrove entering the stadium in Lake Elsinore prior to the game, and Joe was there with his godfather, who is like the godfather pitching coach for a lot of major leaguers, and that's Dom Johnson, who's like one of the great pitching coaches here in San Diego. And the two of them were walking into the facility together, and I like that. I like seeing Musgrove there with his personal pitching coach, who's actually his real godfather and a family member. And so there's all the love and support for our guy Joe. With Nick, I know that he's got some kind of a contract thing that if he doesn't get on the mound by a certain date in August, then the next year in his contract might open up and he could be let go as a free agent. Do you know anything about that, Lee?
Well, there's options, but if he spends so many days in a row on the disabled list, he loses the option to return. It's a club option. But at this point, I don't think the Padres are thinking about dumping contracts at all. They're just trying to get these guys as healthy as they can. Musgrove has been very open, like Buehler's been very open. I'm a little bit disappointed in Pivetta because he just seems to have built a wall with the media, refuses to talk and cooperate. And the guys here, the media here, myself, the beat guys, they're just here to do their job. And, you can tell us what you can tell us, but tell us something. Don't blow us off, refuse to meet with the media, et cetera. So, there's no reason for Pivetta to act this way towards the San Diego media, that A, is doing his job, and B, is hoping that he can come back and, be the frontline pitcher that he was before. So everybody handles the adversity very differently. But I'll tell you, John, when you go back, I went back and I reviewed these notes from over the last year because I had set aside all these specific quotes. I said, holy cow. And then, I think you need to show compassion to the pitchers. What these guys are living through day by day, it's their career, their livelihood, their wealth, etc. And for them never to know from one day to the next how they're going to feel, if there's going to be a setback, are they making strides? What if there is something different that happens? How do they respond to it? The mental toll on these guys, John, is just, to me, it's just staggering. And what Joe's done for 2 years, and what Buehler did twice in a span of 4.5 years, is just absolutely stunning. So credit to the guys, but I wanted the viewers to be able to actually read the quotes directly from these guys as they've gone through this day by day, step by step in rehab. Okay, you got an opinion on the Padres? Feel free. Jump on board. Have they traded themselves into the pennant race? Have they traded away the future? Did the GM do this to save the season? Did the GM maybe do this to save his job? Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. And do you have compassion for Pivetta, for Musgrove, and what they've had to face that we never experience as human beings or as fans or as working media, what they have to face on a day-by-day basis? Fans Forum chat box is open. That's why we do this podcast. We'd sure like to hear from you on the specifics of those Padre pitchers. We go from that. Next baseball topic involves Dodger Blue.
Dodger Blue. We got SKUBAL is in L.A. Lee, how do you think he's going to do for the Blue Crew?
Well, his first start was pretty impressive. Dodgers are staggering, though. They are really struggling. And the national media, John, has just gone haywire. I mean, they're making out the evil empire thing on a day-by-day basis when making any reference to Los Angeles. But SKUBAL was dynamic. Rest of the batting order, not. Starting rotations got holes in it all of a sudden, and there's some problems that are just kind of popping up. Dodgers have lost 6 in a row. Can you imagine that? With this Gold Star starting rotation, they've lost 6 in a row. But it's not so much on the starting pitching as it's on the batting order. They got half the batting orders not hitting. Mookie Betts is not vintage Mookie Betts. Teoscar Hernandez is just not having a very good season again. Then you add into the equation what they're not getting from Kyle Tucker on a consistent basis. Yeah, an odd home run or so, but dude's hitting 241. That's a big issue. Freddie Freeman got hurt at Wrigley Field, jammed his thumb, and neither one of their catchers is going to play. Dalton Rushing's got a torn elbow ligament. Will Smith has started to do some baseball-related stuff, but they don't know if there's going to be another physical setback with the pinched nerve or the disc in his neck. And obviously, there will be no Ohtani on the mound into September. Blake Snell just had a setback at Oklahoma City, and what was supposed to be the final tune-up, he got lit. He couldn't find home plate, gave up home runs, got banged all over the yard, never got to the 4th inning in a AAA game. So they're not quite sure whether they're going to activate him at this point in time. One positive piece of news, Bobby Miller. Remember him 2 years ago, how brilliant he was at the back end of the season as a raw rookie? And he's had all kinds of physical problems. He came off the disabled list last night, the first appearance he's made in over a year for Oklahoma City, and he was crackling, 97 miles an hour. He had 2 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 4 Ks, and he was clocked 97 fairly consistently. So, John, I know there's 50-plus games. I don't know if there's a little bit of private concern that the Dodgers might lose first-round bye status, and those byes are important to a first-place team at the end of a long season. And if they don't stop this bleeding, might they lose one of the home field advantages and actually have to go on the road for some of these playoff games? So it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes. I'm not walking down the hallway looking to pull the fire alarm. But, John, this is not the Dodger team that we have known it to be, is it? Turn your mic on. Lee.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that the Dodgers are coming back from summer vacation, right?
John, you're so excited to yell at me, you forgot to turn your mic on again.
Yeah, I did. Okay, I try to turn it off so I'm not breathing heavy while you're giving your epilogue. Anyways, the Dodgers. They're all the boys are coming back from summer vacation. Blake Snell's coming back, and you get SKUBAL that's arriving. They're going to be fine. They're going to have a few bumps in the road right now, but there's no way this whole thing's going to self-implode and they're going to end up maybe getting picked off in the first round. I mean, there's no way they're going to not have a bye either. I can't imagine that happening. But I want to ask you this, Lee. As much as we praise the Dodgers and their farm system, how deep and talented it is, there are very few, Dodger guys, like original Dodger guys that are playing for the team right now. Every one of the starters is Every one of the starting pitchers is a free agent or a trade acquisition. The only regulars in the field that I can think of that are homegrown would maybe be Will Smith and maybe Andy Pages. That's about it, right?
Yeah, pretty much so. Now, remember, they've got 5 pitching prospects have been on the disabled list, down in the minor leagues and are in the middle of rehab, if you will. So injuries have played a bit of a role as to what's happened with Dodger baseball right now. But if there is no Ohtani on the mound, does that change the makeup, or is that then not a problem because there is a SKUBAL who has replaced him? And at this point, I don't know where Snell is. I mean, they were ready to have Snell activated for this weekend, and then after he was terrible at Oklahoma City. He looked like old Blake Snell. Can't get the ball over the plate. Just not good. So they're not a complete team, and half their guys aren't hitting very well at all.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't we talk about one of Snell's outings? He looked really sharp. He went 2 innings or was it 1 1/3 innings and struck out 3 guys? Wasn't that him?
2 starts ago he did, but that was Ontario. That was Class A. That was not AAA Oklahoma City.
Okay.
That's where we are. So, big picture, on paper, hell of a franchise. Where they are right now, what did you ever think in modern day, John, you and I'd be talking about this roster and a 6-game losing streak in the same sentence? So they're not a complete team right now. Granted, we got 50 games to go, but if there's no Ohtani on the mound, change things, or does SKUBAL not change things?
Well, SKUBAL is a huge addition. Every team would love to have him. And Ohtani's still going to pitch in the playoffs. If he's not a starter going 6+ innings, he's definitely going to be a high leverage reliever. So Dodgers have nothing to worry about, Lee.
Okay. Somebody wearing Dodger blue, jump on board. Baseball's having a nervous breakdown referring to the evil empire because of the Tarik Skubal acquisition. Dodgers didn't do anything wrong. The Dodgers are just doing business under the rules that currently exist. If we ever have a new CBA, maybe the rules will be different and maybe there will be some changes along the way. Fans forum chat box is open for Dodger fans. Pro or con, jump on board. We go from that very briefly, John. Let's jump into the baseball notebook. We got
trade deadline headlines.
Yeah, storylines a whole bunch of different places. In terms of the Yankees, Brian Cashman's getting blasted. You have all this talent, and you did not do anything of significance at the baseball trade deadline. You did not go get a power bat. Well, they did get Luis Garcia, the first baseman out of Washington, but Yankee media does not view him as a solution to the issues. There is a piece of good news this morning. Aaron Judge has now been cleared after a 3rd MRI on the broken rib. He's been cleared to begin light baseball activity. And I'm led to believe that involves stretching, that involves some weight work, that involves running. I don't know that it involves batting practice yet. So it may well be, as long as there's no setbacks, that maybe there's an Aaron Judge sighting the 1st of September. But I don't know what happens with Bellinger. That's a hamstring. They were saying 4 to 6 there. And there seems to be no hope at all that Giancarlo Stanton is going to be able to come back and going to be able to contribute whatsoever. So, Brian Cashman's catching a bunch of flack because he's got all these players and he didn't get very much done. In terms of the New York Mets, there's 2 storylines here that are really interesting. They got rid of 6 pitchers at the trade deadline. I mean, dumped a lot of bodies out in the street, and they're committed to go to an awful lot of their young players. But they didn't get any established pitching back in terms of any of these transactions. So that I think has really kind of stunned some people as to where they are. The other thing is the internal combustion of Juan Soto and his teammates still exist. Now, Freddie Peralta, who was just traded to Tampa Bay, he was one of the first guys that went at the deadline. Peralta confirmed to the New York media in his farewell press briefing that he tried to act as the intermediary to try to solve the chemistry problems with Soto and Francisco Lindor, and just did not have a lot of success getting them on the same page to be good teammates. So that's a bit of an issue there. Mets have still got the big payroll, but now the Mets are 6 less pitchers than they had before the trading deadline window opened. In Detroit, They're kind of trying to hang in there in the wild card race after letting go of starters 1 and 2. A lot of heat on Scott Harris, the general manager. Yeah, you had to trade SKUBAL because you could not re-sign him. Well, you're owned by rich people. Why could you not re-sign him? So you had to trade MIZE because he was going to be a walk free agent. You weren't willing to pay him the price tag. How come you didn't get any established pitchers back? Yes, you got prospects from the Dodgers. Yes, you got prospects from the Padres. How come you did not get any established young pitching to go to Comerica Park immediately and finish out the season? So Scott Harris is starting to catch a little heat in Detroit. In Boston, I'll tell you what, they like Craig Breslow. That's the general manager that was under all kinds of fire after the Red Sox had that really bad start. Do you know Boston is 25-3, John? 25-3. How's that for a hot streak? And Boston's doing it without superstars, but doing it with everybody hitting in the batting order, and suddenly Boston's pitching has gotten better. And, of course, they went out and they made the bold trade to go get Adley Rutschman. Now, they traded 5 for 1 to get him out of Baltimore, but it solves a real problem for them behind home plate, and he can hit, and he's got some power. Now, they didn't go get a shortstop who was going to be a star immediately, so that's kind of a bit of an issue. But in the bigger picture, Breslow is being viewed through a different lens now than it was early in the season. 25-3 right now in the heat of the pennant race. And in Pittsburgh, they got 4 relief pitchers at the trade deadline. The burning question in Pittsburgh, did you get anybody who can close a game? I mean, when the biggest name you got was Kirby Yates, and they couldn't wait to get him out of Anaheim, that's the best reliever you could get. And Pittsburgh's got another problem. Paul Skeens has just fallen apart. He got smoked again last night, John. Get this, his last 9 starts, his ERA is 6.14. And they're not winning games when he's on the mound. Now, they've got some other good young pitchers. And they've got a bunch of good young players that they kind of pushed to the front. Boy, the Skeens mystery, they can't solve it. He's not hurt, but his stuff is not his stuff at this point in time. So, John, those are late-breaking stories. Checking my baseball notebook. Go ahead. Start with Brian Cashman. Work your way through the Mets, what Detroit did not do, what Boston has done, and what's going to become of the Buccos.
It's funny you're referring to Juan Soto like an internal combustion engine. It's interesting that Freddie Peralta had to, be a mediator, to get these two guys to come together. It's just striking how you get these stars with egos and they have trouble. But Soto always kind of rubbed us the wrong way in San Diego. Color me surprised. The Tigers, what I heard from what Casey Mize said, they didn't offer him any sort of an extension. They didn't really even entertain talks. I was surprised by that, given how his season has gone, that the Tigers wouldn't have, extended an offer to have him stay. But they just shipped him out. And, maybe they saw his outing last night and said, see, this is what we saw coming. I don't know. The Red Sox, they had a big winning streak like a week or so ago. So they're still riding that wave. You say 25-3 and, good on Breslow. I was bummed that they traded Marcelo Meyer, but, that team, to your point, the other guys are the ones that have been chipping in, and you love seeing that on a team when the other guys are chiming in. That's usually when you have that magic for a late season run. But how about this, Lee? Have you seen the throwback uniforms of the Red Sox that look like the Fenway, look like the Green Monster in Fenway?
Yeah, the kind of like lime green, and of course, prior to that they had yellow throwback uniforms. Yeah, they're cool. I mean, some of these clubs. You're the big fashion critic, I understand. Some of these clubs, alternate jerseys or city current jerseys, if you were, they're pretty snazzy. And some of them are really poor. But no, Red Sox have done some really kind of cool things. The first time I saw them in all yellow last year, I said, that looks like a softball team. Who is that? That's the Red Sox. What are they doing? And then obviously saw the Green Monster ones now, which they're kind of cool.
Yeah, the Green Monster ones kind of like shook me a bit. But my understanding is that blue and yellow one, they're using the colors from the Boston Marathon, so I like that, that connection between the community and the team. But it is weird when you're called the Red Sox and you're wearing green or you're wearing blue or wearing yellow. It just seems a little bit odd. And what do you think's the deal with Skeens? Is he hurt, or have the hitters just figured him out?
I don't know. His control's gone away. They say there's nothing physically wrong with him, but his location, he's leaving balls out over the plate. I mean, this guy looked like Hall of Fame material his first year plus in baseball, and all of a sudden, he's getting lit. Johnny had one stretch. He had 9 starts. He did not have a win. And some of these starts, he was not getting out of the 4th inning. And now his last nine starts, he's got a 6.14 ERA. His overall record is 9-9, but most of that was accomplished in the first third of the baseball season. So, boy, it's a big mystery as to why he's not what he was early on. Very much so.
Well, in the early part of the season, the baseball prognosticators were saying that Skeens was the best pitcher in all of baseball, but SKUBAL was number 2. And now Skeens has fallen off a cliff. And of course, the Dodgers now have the number 1 pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, but don't discount Jacob Misiorowski and his 100+ miles an hour every start in Milwaukee. So he's doing pretty well, too. Okay, you're a baseball fan. Jump on board. Give us an opinion if you have. We are at halftime. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You own a house, you're going to have to make repairs and investments in that house sometime, someplace. I did. Tell you, the doors and windows I got from DIXIELINE, they are so different and have made such a difference in my house in terms of the brutal heat during the summer and the chilly weather in the winter. But DIXIELINE is also for the do-it-yourselfer. John, take it from there.
Take it from there. Yeah, we're looking at some of the DeWalt power tools here in this video. Yeah, the folks at DIXIELINE, there are a lot of options, where you can go buy building materials, where you can get your hardware, Lee. You can go to Ace Hardware, you can go to the big orange guy, the big blue guy, and every one of those companies offers something different, something that makes them, that sets them aside, and DIXIELINE is one of those competitors. And you think, well, why should I go to DIXIELINE as opposed to going to any of these other big time companies that we see, dominating shopping malls? Well, number one, DIXIELINE's been in San Diego for over 100 years. They're deeply woven into the fabric of San Diego history. All of their lumber yards are drive-through lumber yards. You don't have to go out into the parking lot and get a big orange or blue cart and roll it into the store. You just drive your truck. Maybe it's your family pickup truck, or maybe you're a contractor or a builder. You got racks on there. You go right into the lumber yard, and the boys there, they're going to load you up, especially if you have an order that you place in advance. They're going to be there to set you up. And oh, by the way, DIXIELINE delivers to all the job sites around Southern California. So if you're building a home, if you're remodeling a home, if you're just installing doors, windows, maybe putting in a new deck in the backyard, DIXIELINE Lumber is your go-to partner in the world of lumber and building materials here in San Diego County and even in Orange County. So DIXIELINE Lumber, fix it, build it, and enjoy it.
Let's go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime, our Thursday podcast going towards a great sports weekend. Just a couple of reminders. We do sports talk the way it should be done. Topics on the table, our opinions, but we do something different. We let you jump into the conversation. It's called Fans Forum. John, we're looking for newcomers, first-timers, Rookie of the Year candidates. How do they get involved on this live stream in Fans Forum?
So you get, if you go on a live chat on YouTube, Facebook, or X, drop your hot take there, your question for Hacksaw, we'll get you in Fans Forum. But if you use the YouTube Super Chat feature and put a couple of bucks to your question, like Music to My Ears often does and has a question waiting on us, you go right to the top of the line. You go right to the beginning. But I see a lot of other boys on here. I see Alejandro and Sports Fan, Fonzie, Richard is in the house, the O-Siders, John, Callan, Teamer, XX Revolution. You can still jump in. Just drop your take in the live chat below the screen right now.
It's Fans Forum. It'll be coming up shortly, right at the end of this podcast. Do you like sports? I hope so. Read about sports. I write about sports every day of the week on my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. Best 15 minutes in sports. I guarantee if you check it there first thing every morning, you'll be the smartest guy on the street corner going to work. Can't believe the amount of information that I provide. My one man's opinion columns too. Also, become part of Hacksaw's Insiders group. You can subscribe and get on the email list. John and I send out 2 newsletters a day. Also, want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Just go ahead and email everybody in your address book about who we are and what we've done with this podcast over the last 4 years. And when you subscribe, that means every time we add new videos up on the YouTube channel, you will get an alert. You can help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It really helps us grow this thing a great deal. Follow me on X on social media. Become part of my Twitter all-star team. Just punch in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton on X. Hit the follow button. That way you can participate in all my pointed opinion polls. Okay, John, I'm ready for the second half. We are baseball-centric, but we know everything about the National Football League. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, let's talk about the big names, big questions with the Rams and the Chargers.
Here's the story. LA Rams, private workout yesterday, the coaches and Aaron Donald. Now, he has been working on his own with his own personal trainer at the Rams facility up in Woodland Hills. Team, of course, is at training camp in Loyola Marymount. But he held a private workout yesterday for Sean McVay and the assistant coaches, and he dazzled them. Now, they're going to meet on Saturday face-to-face with Aaron Donald and his agent and determine, is he coming back immediately? What will the role be? And what will the price be? And when he retired, John, he had 1 year left on his contract, worth $30 million. If he's going to be a full-time player, he probably gets that contract. If he's only going to be a part-time player, then maybe it's going to be a restructured deal. We don't know whether he's ready to play opening day for the Rams when they meet the 49ers down in Australia, or whether he'll be activated at midseason. We don't know if he's ready to be an every down guy or whether he's just going to be a third down pass rushing specialist. We do know he's an 8-time Pro Bowler. We do know about the sacks. We do know about the turnovers. We do know about the disruption in the run game. It's going to be fascinating to see what they decide on Saturday. It'll be the face-to-face meeting with everybody that's in this inner circle involving Aaron Donald. So that's item one. Another late-breaking story today. The Rams are not commenting on this. Puka Nacua, the unbelievably gifted rookie wide receiver who's in the final year of his contract, he's had all these problems off the field, has not been offered a contract extension, will be one of the lowest paid stars in the NFL this year at $5 million when everybody else is making $15 to $20 million. Puka Nacua just fired his agent. Nacua is going to handle or hire a new group to handle his negotiations, which might mean they're going to push that this guy deserves to have a multi-year contract extension at this point, rather than play the season on the 1-year contract with the injury risk that's out there. Now, the Rams have not talked openly, but the insinuation is the Rams want this young man who'd had a lot of emotional problems in the offseason and wound up going into a rehab center for counseling. They want him to prove that he can stay out of trouble because they did not like anything they saw from Puka Nacua as a person, not the player, as a person in the offseason. So that's a storyline that bears watching as to what's going to happen with Puka Nacua, because his contract is grossly underpaid compared to what other stars are getting at wide receiver. But he's got this baggage there. So that's a big issue. In terms of the Chargers, I don't understand this criticism from the national media. I think it's really unfair. People are bashing Justin Herbert that he does not deserve any type of national recognition that he's an elite quarterback because he's 0-3 in the playoffs. But that's from people who don't see what's happened to him on a Sunday-by-Sunday basis and how he's had to do virtually everything by himself because the offensive line's been so poor. I think it's really unfair to Justin Herbert because I think he's a hell of a player. Now, they came down here for 2 days to practice at USD and closed practice. One day was open to season ticket holders. The other day it was open just to the military. Now, they had a nice turnout of people that were admitted to the stadium, but they were very erratic. Now, Justin Herbert in one stretch went 8 for 8 throwing the football. In another series, he got sacked 4 times. So there's issues with the offensive line still. But it was fun to watch them because I watched video of what was going on. Fun to watch them in their formation, the movement, the energy, the mismatches they were trying to create. but they had drop passes. AKA Quentin Johnston, drop passes again and again. Hit big plays, Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris. So it's going to be very interesting once the games actually start a week from now for everybody in the NFL after the Hall of Fame game tonight. Once the games start, how different this offense is, because I'm going to be fascinated. I think this offense is going to be really, really kind of cool to watch. One other item with the Chargers. They got a scare. Holy cow, did they get a scare. Rashawn Slater, the Pro Bowl left tackle who missed all last year with knee surgery, came off the field, went immediately to the medical tent, and then was escorted into the locker room. He felt some discomfort in the knee. That's the same knee that he had the patella tendon surgery, but he came back out at the end, did stretching, and then yesterday in the walkthrough without pads, he did all the movement stuff that offensive linemen have to do. So they got a bit of a scare. I think their heart was in their throat when they saw him come off the field limping, but it does not appear that he badly re-injured himself. But I'm anxious. I'm looking at the energy and the urgency in this offense. It's going to be fun to see how quickly this comes together. So, John, your reaction to Aaron Donald, this whole Puka story, and the national media beating up on Justin Herbert, that's utterly ridiculous.
Well, first of all, I think Puka Nacua should hire Kawhi Leonard's uncle to be his agent, then and put a little muscle in there for some extra juice on the outside of the deal. It's a shame. I mean, because Puka is a very likable young man and, a good BYU young man, and he seems to be kind of going off the edge a bit. So hopefully he gets his life sort of straightened out. Aaron Donald, huge respect for the guy. I mean, if the Rams gave him the $30 million, that he walked away from, that'd be a really class move. But, that's a big chunk of change. I don't know what they're going to do. The Rams are loaded. I mean, and you add Aaron Donald to that situation, even if he, comes in, on week 8 of the season, that's going to be a pretty sweet, team right there. As far as the Chargers go, Justin Herbert is one of those guys that, yeah, he's not the same as a Josh Allen or certainly not a Patrick Mahomes. Because he's never won the big one or really had success in the playoffs. Statistically, he's great. He looks like, the Michelangelo of David back there. He's just pure athleticism and skill and talent and high football IQ. But yeah, he hasn't gotten it done. So, prove it. You got to prove it. And this year he's got the distraction from his marriage and all that's going on. So this will be a very interesting test. I do like the Mike McDaniel's comments about how it was great. It's great down here in San Diego. I didn't know how great it really was. And apparently the fans were really rowdy, really loud. And it's just still kind of hard for me to believe that there's a lot of people here in San Diego that are sticking with the Chargers as their team, as their loyal, true blue blood team. I follow them because we do the podcast. Sometimes I find myself rooting for them again, but I just couldn't imagine being a season ticket holder, commuting up from San Diego.
I agree with you. We cover it because it's in Southern California. We give them as much coverage as we give the Rams, and obviously give the Raiders a bunch of coverage too. I was stunned. Dean Spanos strutting around the USD football field as if he's something special. And like all sins are forgiven? No, I don't think so. Yeah, there were 2,000 people, military or ticket holders, that were allowed to come. A lot of them were really young, showing up wearing Charger gear. That's 2,000. That's not 55 years of loyalty. I'm just amazed that anybody would think that all was fine in San Diego after what Dean Spanos did to our community. I just have a terrible time understanding any rationale there. But it was interesting. Nobody in the media wanted to interview him. So he got no extra publicity here.
Yeah,
and
good.
At the end of the day, he's got a great quarterback. He's got a name head coach. He's got a unique offensive coordinator who'll be there for 11 months and then probably leave. But he's on the outer periphery of interest in the Los Angeles market because of the Rams, who own that stadium he plays in, and because of the Dodgers and because of the Lakers. But, John, I'm just stunned that he would kind of strut around the USD perimeter of that football field as if, homecoming, I am home. You're not home. You're an outcast.
I can't visualize Dean Martin or Dean Spanos peacocking around San Diego.
He did. Well, he did at USD.
Yeah.
Now he's gone back to being on the outer periphery of fan interest. Okay, you're a Rams fan. We got Los Angeles followers, Orange County followers. Jump in here. Get into this conversation. What do the Rams owe Puka Nacua? Or what does the wide receiver owe the NFL team based on what he did in the offseason? And the other sidebar question, Charger fans, Bolt fans, love them, hate them, jump into the fans forum chat box. I think the national media criticism of Justin Herbert's cheap. I think it's unfair. You haven't seen the pounding this guy has taken while trying to get this team into the playoffs, etc. He hasn't failed the organization. The organization's failed him. Agree or disagree with me on that? Charger fans, Rams fans forum, chat box is open. Okay, John, we go from that. NFL Notebook.
NFL Notebook. You got a lot of quarterback stories here, Lee.
I'm going to say something here that you won't agree with. I'm going to say something a lot of people around the country probably do agree with. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Aaron Rodgers is always offbeat with his opinions about what he likes, what he dislikes, what he values, what he thinks is unimportant. So he does an interview on ESPN with Pat McAfee. And out of the clear blue sky, he starts going off on people. He went off on ESPN on the interview place where he was talking to Pat McAfee. He said, how come you guys did not cover the Mike Vrabel affair with the female reporter? Sex for scoops. He went on a rant about that. And then he went off on Anthony Fauci for being a coward. Now, of course, Aaron Rodgers is an anti-vaxxer. His choice. Good luck to you. You don't get sick. If you get sick, tough crap. But why would he beat up Anthony Fauci? Just absolutely stunning to me. And then he revisited what I think is the most shameless thing I've ever heard him say. The terrible tragedy at Sandy Hook, the shooting of all those kids years and years ago, that the government was involved in that. You got to be kidding me. Is it just Aaron Rodgers allowed to be Aaron Rodgers even if he's an asshole? Why would he say these things? Be a quarterback, be a leader, be a stand-up citizen. Why are you going off on these tangents? Stunning story there. Cleveland. I can't wait for the preseason games to begin. Do you know, John, they are no closer to having a starting quarterback now than they've been in years. Deshaun Watson has thrown 6 interceptions in 5 practices. This is the guy with the $230 million contract. This is the guy that is trying to come back from 2 injuries, got all this experience. He looks horrible. I saw some video of him just overfiring, throwing bounce back, just all over the parking lot, except throwing the ball to the receiver. Shedeur Sanders is playing better than Deshaun Watson. And Shedeur Sanders hadn't been real consistent, yet he's not throwing the interception. It's just the Cleveland situation. Oh, my goodness, it's just stunning. Denver. Bo Nix looks dangerous. Bo Nix looks healthy. Bo Nix looks like he's ready to take the next step with Sean Payton. And I'll tell you, the difference maker, nobody's talked about this much around the NFL. This acquisition of Jalen Waddle, the big play receiver who came from Miami, holy cow. He's tough to cover. He catches everything. And now he makes the guys on the other side, Cortland Sutton, Trevor Franklin, and the tight end, Evan Ingram, he's going to make them more dangerous. I think Denver is going to be so much more explosive because Jalen Waddle's been there. And in terms of the Raiders, well, Kirk Cousins starts. Mendoza will play some in each of the preseason games, but the bigger issue, do you have any offensive linemen? Because their offensive line hasn't been very good outside of the offensive center who came from Baltimore. And, of course, they do have Colton Miller, the veteran left tackle, coming off injury. But their offensive line gave up 64 sacks last year. And it still continues to be an issue in training camp, whether it's Kirk Cousins or it's Fernando Mendoza. So, John, those are a couple of headlines. So you're going to argue with me or you're going to side with Aaron Rodgers? Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to side with Aaron Rodgers. First of all, I like when he's being interviewed and he just lets it rip. I'm not saying I agree with what he's saying. I just like the fact that he's bold and brash and proud and willing to let it rip and willing to be critical, even of ESPN and the way they're covering stories, So he kind of turns the tables, in these kind of media interviews with athletes. And I really like that from an entertainment perspective and to get greater insight into how he ticks. But, we say what you will about all the Fauci stuff and the COVID and everything else. The question really comes down to is, should the vaccine be mandatory? And I think that was a big part of the controversy surrounding Aaron Rodgers. And he was kind of my body, my choice kind of a guy, but he just got raked over the coals because people were wagging the finger in his face over the whole thing. And he was brave enough to fight back. So, vaccines are good. I'm certainly a pro-vaxxer, but I'm also a pro-choice guy. And so it's good that he was able to kind of stand up for himself. So leave Aaron Rodgers alone. He's got one more year left. Let's see if he has a good run there. I am thrilled for Shedeur Sanders. I'm thrilled for, Dion. He must have had a nice talk, with the head coach there in Cleveland, because it's good to see the young man, Shedeur Sanders, having success given all the criticism that came his way. And, Deshaun Watson, that guy is a man of questionable character. So it's fitting to see that he is struggling coming out of the gate. So, it is interesting, all these quarterback stories, Lee. I mean, we're just getting into it, man. We got the NFL Hall of Fame game tonight. What's the kid's name? Carson Beck. Isn't he going to be starting tonight for the Cardinals?
Yes, he's going to start because Jacoby Brissett missed so much OTA work, etc. And Beck's going to have to play some, but that's not a good team around whomever the quarterback is going to be. So you're an NFL fan. Respond to what's in the notebook. Agree? First Amendment rights. Aaron Rodgers can say anything he wants to say, regardless of whether it's fair, unfair, intelligent, unintelligent. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Comment on anything there in the NFL notebook. Speaking to the Hall of Fame, John, let's go to Fawcett Stadium. Let's talk about Canton. Let's talk about what's going to happen on the game tonight, but what's going to happen on Saturday, the induction ceremony. How cool are these guys?
I mean, I love this photo right here of all these guys. They just all look talented and happy. Big moments for these dudes.
Drew Brees. Who could have ever imagined this former San Diego Charger quarterback drafted in the Marty Schottenheimer era, who set the stage for making the team competitive? You never forget the 1-15 Ryan Leaf era, do you? Drew Brees going to New Orleans, linking up with Sean Payton and doing what he did. And what he did was 571 touchdown passes, and what he did was over 80,000 yards through the air for a 5'10" quarterback who did not have a gun for an arm. He did it with smarts, he did it with guile, he did it with courage, and he did it coming off a bad shoulder injury. What a hell of an accomplishment for the kid out of Texas through Purdue, and what he finally got done at New Orleans. Second guy to be enshrined is a hell of a receiver. Now, the marquee name at the top of the list obviously is all things Jerry Rice, because Jerry Rice was a focal point of Super Bowl teams with the Niners. What Larry Fitzgerald accomplished in a lot of bad years in Arizona is just staggering. This guy, 121 touchdown catches for bad Arizona Cardinal teams. And they doubled him, they tripled him, they cheap shotted him, and yet he only had one major injury over the course of his career. This guy had over 1,400 receptions. He's a hell of a person. Larry Fitzgerald goes to the Hall of Fame. Third one, not a sexy name, but man, he'd slam Bam U at linebacker. Talking about Luke Kuechly. Kid came out of Boston College, went to Carolina as a high first-round draft pick. Now, John, he only played 8 years in the league, and he stepped away because of fear of concussions. He had 1,092 tackles in 8 years with Carolina. And now he's going on network TV as an analyst. Really sharp dude, really classy guy. The next one is a throwback to a different era, the legendary 49er era. This guy, I would assume, is probably the first of what I would call an ultra back. I can run it and I will catch it. I'm talking about Roger Craig. What a career. He had 13,000 plus all-purpose yards running it and catching balls out of the backfield with the Niners, and he had 73 touchdowns over the course of his career, run and receive. And the last guy, you know, guys who get to the Hall of Fame come from football factories. This guy came from South Dakota State. Think about that. Adam Vinatieri. He kicked for 24 years in the NFL, a chunk of it in New England. 599 career field goals for a guy from South Dakota State. We're not talking big-time LSU, Ohio State, Michigan. We're talking South Dakota State. What a great human accomplishment that is. John, what a fascinating Hall of Fame list. I can't wait for the speeches on Saturday in Canton. That's going to be cool.
It's going to be great, you know, and I got a Drew Brees story to tell you. Like over 20 years ago, when my son was like maybe 4 years old, we took him to this little preschool here in Poway, and you know, it's a wonderful place, and it was right before they started kindergarten. And you know, every Christmas they would always have a Christmas recital where all the little guys, boys and girls that are like 4 and 5 years old, would sing all of these different Christmas carols for all the parents. And it's a wonderful moment. But I remember looking down the aisle that I was sitting on, and there was Drew Brees. And I was like, what the hell is Drew Brees doing here? And it turned out that some of the offensive linemen, their children were in the class, and Drew went there to show support for his offensive linemen, you know, and for their families. And I just thought, man, that is a man of character right there. And I was an instant Drew Brees fan when I discovered the whole story behind the reason he was there. So, you know, he had moments here in San Diego that you could see that he had a lot of talent. But I remember Schottenheimer used to get so angry at him for fumbling the ball, you know, and he ended up getting replaced by Flutie. But I don't think anyone ever saw that he could have had that career that he had with New Orleans, Lee. I mean, did you see that in him when he left San Diego?
Well, you're talking about stories. I interviewed him when he was a young quarterback at Purdue because I was doing USC football at that time, and we played the Boilermakers. And they played him out here at the LA Coliseum. It actually was the first big game in a big-time stadium he'd ever played. He wasn't intimidated. He was confident. And I remember him asking him, I said, how does a kid out of Texas wind up with the Purdue Boilermakers who don't have a national reputation? He said, I was not recruited very heavily by any of the big schools, not the Aggies, not the Longhorns, not nobody. So I have something to prove. And boy, he went out and he proved it at Purdue. He played for the head coach who used to be at Wyoming and really developed a gunslinger mentality. And he got here to the Chargers, and he was a draft pick with credentials, and he came here, and the quarterback situation here had been so bad. And again, that was the early stages of the construction of really good Charger football. And Gates might have been here. Tomlinson came here. Drew Brees played. But again, it wasn't a very, very good team, not a complete team. He took a pounding along the way. And then they drafted Phillip Rivers in the aftermath of the Eli Manning-Rivers trade. And I thought, well, Drew Brees will probably exit as a free agent. And the cruelest part was the last game he played with the Chargers, a throwaway game at the end of a losing season. He got badly hurt. He got killed on a quarterback sack in the end zone, dislocated his shoulder, rotator cuff ligaments. It was a very bad injury. And he was about to become a free agent. And suddenly he was a free agent with no value. And he had the surgery, did the therapy, and rehabbed, and the only two teams talked to him. One was Miami and didn't want to give him the big contract. And the other was New Orleans, which had not had great success. Sean Payton had arrived. Sean Payton knew the dynamics of this quarterback and was willing to give him a creatively financed contract. If you do this, you'll get paid that. Brought him in, gave him the playbook. The kid consumed the playbook, and the kid got progressively better and better and better. And at the end of the day, 571 touchdowns. How staggering a statistic is that for a guy that was laying in the end zone turf with a badly injured shoulder in the last game he played with the San Diego Chargers. But, John, he's such a hell of a person. I mean, that's you cross paths with so many good guys and a bunch of bad guys and elite intellectuals and dumbass people too. This guy was just So classy, so complete.
Yeah,
And
he's a good dude.
and when he raised the Super Bowl trophy in New Orleans and all the confetti, who did he have in one arm? The trophy. Who did he have in the other arm? There's a picture on the internet. Him and his first child wearing a headset to protect his ears, the baby and the confetti and the trophy. How cool is that? That says volumes about the person.
Yeah, that's the image that I remember for sure. I also want to just make a note about Roger Craig. I just remember when he came to the Niners, they didn't have, this is like early Joe Montana, early 80s, and they didn't really have a big running game. And they drafted Craig, and I think he came out of Nebraska. And they
Yes.
said, yeah, this is a dual threat kind of guy. He can catch balls and he can run the ball. And like you said, he's one of the first that was really good at doing that. But man, when that guy would run, that high step, that high kick, those knees were going really high. He was just a thrill to watch on the field. So it's great that he's finally getting his due. And I saw something on TV. Was it a commercial or something where, he knocks on the door, it's Roger Craig knocking on the door of the house, and Deion Sanders opens the door to greet him, two 49er Hall of Famers. And I just thought that was great. So, congratulations to all five of these men. I mean, what an accomplishment. I'm going to watch the game for a little bit tonight, see what it's all about.
South Dakota State. What's their nicknames? Is it Jackrabbits? I can't recall.
It is.
But a kicker from South Dakota State going to the Hall of Fame. Here's my side story. So I broadcast with the Chargers. We played in the Hall of Fame game 1 year against the Atlanta Falcons. I think it was in 94, or maybe it was the onset of the 95 season. So part of the traveling party, the team, and I was part of that traveling party, we get a private tour of the Hall of Fame the night before the game is played. So the Hall of Fame closes at 5 p.m. in Canton, so they bring us in at 6 p.m., and we walk through the hall, and I'd been to the hall before, in the galleries and all the equipment and the plaques, etc., and the busts. And I'm walking in with John Carney, the Charger field goal kicker. And they open the gates, we walk in, and everybody's going to different parts to look at different things, displays. Displays are phenomenal, John. And where's John Carney go? Right to the plaques, right to the busts of Lou Groza. Take a picture of me next to Lou Groza's bust. I did for John Carney. But it was cool. Hall of Fame game was it was neat. I mean, granted, we played our backups. The Falcons played their backups. And I think we lost maybe 10-9 or whatever. It wasn't very much of a football game, but it was so cool. So, hey, if you haven't been there, put that on your bucket list. But that's my Hall of Fame story with John Carney and the Lou Groza bust.
Yeah, you and John Carney hanging out in Canton, Ohio. I love to hear those stories.
Okay, so, hey, you're an NFL fan. How about these guys? Is this a unique, unbelievable collection of guys going to the Hall of Fame? Fans Forum chat box is open. Feel free. Jump on board. Next topic on the table, John, we'll spin back to what's going on here at home with San Diego State, Aztec football, Aztec basketball.
Yeah, Sean Lewis, what's his update on the football team this year?
Well, they just started their workouts yesterday. First couple days without pads. They're excited about their offense. His speech before they took the field yesterday was opportunity. Opportunity on behalf of the red and black. Not just opportunity to play, but opportunity to send a message about who San Diego State is about to become. And he's obviously tying this in and referencing it, John, to the Pac-12 conference. So here they go as they begin two-a-days, getting ready for the start of the season under the Pac-12 banner. But they're excited about the offense because Jaden Denegal is now totally healthy after the shoulder surgeries. He played with 2 injured shoulders last year, was very erratic. They are deeper at wide receiver than they've been in years, obviously, led by veteran wide receivers. They're 8 deep at wide receiver. They brought in a truckload of transfers in the offensive front, including 3 from the Big Ten Conference, 1 from Indiana, 2 from Michigan State. Now, they have to find 3 starting offensive linemen off this new group. But they think they have a total of 8 starters back on offense. They think they're going to be electric. Now, defensively, everybody's wearing name tags. They have only 3 starters back. One of them's coming off surgery. They have 15 transfers coming in. So they're looking for a lot of starters on the defensive side of the ball, and they're looking for 2 kickers, a place kicker and a punter, because those guys have moved on and have graduated. So it's a very important camp, but Sean Lewis's sales pitch was opportunity. And what he's referencing is this is a new conference. We have the Pac-12 banner that everybody recognizes. If we can be the football team that wins the Pac-12 conference, we will get national recognition that San Diego State has never gotten before. That's his sales pitch. Now, they've cut the ticket prices. They're kind of mandating you fans got to support us, etc. The basketball story, I don't understand why this has happened, but San Diego State, Brian Dutcher's got his hands full because 3 of his best recruits were from abroad, from Europe. 3 of his best recruits played in professional leagues, and the NCAA is cracking down on guys who played in the upper division European leagues and may not allow them to play NCAA basketball. Now, he's got 1 from Croatia, big man, 3-point shooter. He's got 1 big man rebounder from Italy, and he's got a very flashy guard from Italy. Now, they all played in the top league. They were all, if you will, paid pros. But I ask this question: why is the NCAA unloading on these schools right now with a different set of circumstances when they didn't look at what Arizona became, what Illinois became, what BYU became, all these other people who came from abroad and had phenomenal years last year at the NCAA level? Why all of a sudden is this a big issue? Why can't you wait until the new Save the College program rule is passed by Congress and you get an antitrust exemption? Why at such a late date would you go back and change the way you dealt with European transfer players coming in, which directly impacts Brian Dutcher and San Diego State? So, John, you buying Sean Lewis's sales pitch? You think the NCAA is wrong in terms of addressing the Euro situation very differently this year than they did last year when they let all these guys play?
Well, you know what, Lee, I'm always drinking the Kool-Aid from Sean Lewis. I like his enthusiasm, his leadership. I have no idea what to expect with this new season. Every season is new for the football program, especially. Now, you've been talking about, that the kid quarterback, what's his name? Jaden
Denegal.
I was going to say Jaden Daniels. I knew that was wrong. Jaden Denegal. Apparently he's been playing pretty well, in some of the workouts, and everyone's optimistic. So I'd love to see it. I would. Don't they have that other kid? Like, he had that badass name, like Stonebreaker or something like that. Isn't he another one of the quarterbacks in camp?
Stone Stewart, transfer of Kentucky. Young guy has hardly ever played. If anything were to happen to Denegal, Stone Stewart would be the next one. Now, Denegal's got great athleticism. But again, he got dinged on the first season's game last year at Stony Brook. Then he got hurt again at the end. And he played hurt all year long, and he was very erratic. Now, they say he's totally healthy. And Matt Johnson, their offensive coordinator, told me when I was at camp that at the end of the day, that Denegal, A, is healthy, B, has taken the next step forward emotionally with the playbook. Good. He sees and knows what to do the minute he sees it, whereas last year he was processing, holding the ball too long, getting pounded, running too much, getting hurt, etc. Says he's a very, very different kid. So you got him. You're really deep at wide receiver. They're 8 deep at wide receiver between what's back and what they added in the transfer portal, including a top JUCO wide receiver in California from the College of Sequoias and a transfer from Oregon. And they're 2 deep at running back. I mean, Lucky Sutton it had a phenomenal breakout season last year, and now he's backed by Chance Washington, who's back for his second year. He's another transfer. So I think they've got a lot of components, very explosive. Now, obviously, they've got to keep Denegal on the field, and he's got to play better. But if he's healthy, with a year's experience mentally in his playbook, I think he is going to play better. But the conference, John, who knows? There's 7 new head coaches in this. Who knows what the rest of the conference is going to be? So we've got the most experienced package, I think, offensively of anybody. There's an Aztec fan. You excited? What do you think? And is this town ever going to support this program? John, what do you think about the basketball crisis?
Well, let me just say on football, I noticed that they got one vote in the polls, which is great, so there's something to have hope for. So the season, I guess, will be starting here in late August. Now, basketball, I just have, imagine if you're Brian Dutcher trying to navigate all of this. There were immigration issues, these guys getting visas, plus, whether they're eligible or ineligible. First of all, the NCAA has totally screwed this whole thing up by having all these double standards. I mean, it used to be so hardcore. You get paid, you can't play amateur ball. The line was really clear. And, now they're letting guys that got paid play, but they still don't have any really objective criteria. What is it? If you play in the upper pro divisions, you can't play college ball, but if you play in the lower ones, you can. I mean, it's a contradiction. So they need to get this straightened out. But I just think Dutcher's probably feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this. I mean, he's got, his staff of guys. He's got his student managers. I mean, he needs a wingman that's like an attorney to help navigate all this stuff.
It's tough. It's really tough because the rules seem to be changing. And I just have a problem with the NCAA ignoring everything that college basketball was last year in terms of all these upper European pros coming here and playing and going deep into March Madness and Final Four and all that. And now at the last minute, you're throwing a different set of rules that these coaches say, well, maybe we won't allow them to play. That's grossly unfair. I mean,
very unfair.
Get me to the Save the College Act in Congress. Get me that antitrust exemption. And then you put the package of rules in place for next year. But you don't penalize Dutcher and all these other coaches, whether it's at Gonzaga or St. Mary's. I mean, the other people have also done very well by virtue of Europe. You're going to penalize all these people? Doesn't make a bit of sense to me.
Hey, have you been paying attention to the Swish League? All the preseason stuff? That kid, what's his name? Latrell Davis has been really lighting it up.
Yeah, he's a really good player. And obviously he's going to have a chance to score a lot of points this year. Okay. Somebody that's an Aztec fan, show me your red and black. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Optimistic about football. You on my side of the street as it relates to the NCAA. Why are you dealing with this European thing the way you're dealing with the European thing right now? John, last set of topics on the table. We got hot headlines, whole bunch of places.
Chucky's in the news.
Chucky Lozano is gone. The deal is being done this afternoon. It is a loan acquisition. SDFC is moving Chucky Lozano and his bloated contract to LA Galaxy on a loan for the rest of the MLS season. They're going to pay a large chunk of the $9.3 million salary that they gave Chucky Lozano. He's not played since last year in the playoffs. The aftermath of getting suspended for a run-in with the coach. They wanted him out of there. He killed a couple of other potential deals, never went to play the first half of the season, got left off Team Mexico in the World Cup. He needs to go to LA, needs to accept this exile. Whether they restructure the contract remains to be seen, but it's a loan for the rest of the season. As successful as SDFC has done, this goes down as a crippling contract. John, they paid him $7.6 million last year. They're on the hook for $9.3 million this year, and they're going to pay most of it, despite the fact he might be wearing LA Galaxy colors. A really bad decision by ownership and Tyler Heaps, with a guy who had a track record of being an issue. And yet they did it, and it blew up in their face. And it's hurt them. It's paralyzed them in terms of the salary cap. But hopefully he's moved on. He's moved out. We'll see if he salvages his career at age 31. So that's topic one, Chucky Lozano, LA Galaxy. We think the deal will be done by nightfall tonight. Topic two involves all thing Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA. We've talked extensively about the success of the World Cup, the failure of Infantino's credibility, the fact that he tried to ramrod a side financial deal to sell the marketing rights to the World Cup to a consortium led by Trump money. And there was a revolt. There was an emergency meeting called all day yesterday in Europe. 211 federations have spoken out. They want Infantino removed. The 37-member executive council, hand-picked by Infantino, ordered him to apologize, said they're going to restructure how business deals are approved or disproved, but they're giving their full endorsement to keep Infantino as the president. Now the response today, UEFA, CONCACAF, which runs soccer here in the Americas, have indicated they're going to boycott World Cup events. They want this guy out, and they're going to lead a move for a vote to replace him sometime in the next calendar year. And they're not going to participate in anything World Cup related because they think he's corrupt. This is a really ugly story. And there was testimony in front of the 37 executive committee members that Infantino tried to bribe the African countries. If you vote for my sale of the marketing rights, I'll give you a $40 million prize to fund your federations. That he offered the country of Morocco the championship game in the 2030 World Cup, which is worth volumes of money, if they would support this marketing package. This is a total violation of the rule of law as to how they're supposed to govern business transactions at FIFA. So the 37 guys owe their jobs to him, and they're loyal to him over the credibility of FIFA. And suddenly UEFA, which is all of Europe, all those federations, plus Asia and now North America, South America, Central America, say no. We're gonna call for a revote to get him out of office. So that's an unbelievable story there. Next story, John, this is horse racing. Follow me on this. You and I have talked about the Triple Crown in all the years we've done the podcast. The success and the heritage of the Derby, the troubles that befell the Preakness, which is the second jewel, and the third jewel, which is the Belmont Stakes. And the big thing is timing and the calendar of events. Horses, injuries, health. Everybody, all 20 horses run in the Derby. They've had as few as 9 horses show up 2 weeks later for the Preakness, and have had a limited field for the Churchill Downs because the schedules are so close together, and trainers are fearful horses are going to break down if they run the second and third jewel, the Triple Crown, and those horses, obviously, are worth tremendous amounts of money. So Churchill Downs, which is its own marketing empire, has put together a package of 7 races that they want to run, starting with the Kentucky Derby, and they're going to offer big money. They'll run 2 races at Churchill Downs. They're going to run multiple races at Belmont Park in New York, and the rest are going to be at Saratoga in upstate New York. So they want to do all this, but they're leaving the Preakness out of the equation. Well, the Maryland Jockey Club just last night voted to change all the dates for the Triple Crown. Maryland Jockey Club says we're going to move the Preakness to 3 weeks after the Kentucky Derby because they want marquee horses to go to the second jewel. But in doing that, now that impacts the third jewel, Belmont, which will only be 2 weeks later. Belmont's got a problem. So there's a lot of upheaval as to what Churchill Downs just did on their own, excluding the Preakness, now what Preakness has done in response. So that's a big story there in horse racing. And the final story involves LIV Golf. Now, they're playing this week at Bedminster, Trump's course in New Jersey. They just indicated yesterday, Scott O'Neill, who's the CEO, indicated he has found an investor that will fund LIV to play in 2027. But part of the proposal, John, follow me on this, connect the dots, the players will become shareholders of LIV. What does that mean? The players are going to be asked to give up some of their salary and become investors in LIV to grow the sport abroad and with whatever tournaments they have left here in the United States. They are asking the players to give back a portion of next year's salary and take less in bonus money and become investors. A lot of people have the opinion that this is going to be the death knell because these golfers are sitting here watching this thing eradicate right in front of them. For example, Jon Rahm is owed money that has not yet been paid. Other golfers whose payments have been delayed, deferred, including the young Australian Herbert, who's the hottest young golfer abroad, say they're thinking of opting out. They want to buy out of their contract and they want to come back to the PGA Tour. Byron DeChambeau is going to be a free agent, and he wants mega money. And he's always been about himself. Do you think he or Dustin Johnson or Phil Mickelson are going to give anything back to the LIV? So, yeah, there might be a new lead investor, but this is all going to be triggered by whether or not these other guys are willing to become co-investors, which means giving up a chunk of their money to go play on this tour. One of the national columnists today wrote, they were irrelevant. Now they're on death's door. Wow. John, start with San Diego FC. Walk me through Infantino, horse racing fan, golf fan. Want to hear what you got to say.
Okay, I'll keep it brief because I want to get to Fans Forum. Hey, Chucky Lozano, happy he's gone. Hopefully some resolution there, at least for the rest of this season. Infantini just doesn't surprise me. This is the same kind of BS that FIFA always seems to be doing. And hopefully they limit his power and maybe even knock him out of that top chair. But isn't it amazingly like how often Donald Trump comes up in our podcast? And there's even been like a lot of guys in Fans Forum right now that are chirping about this and that. And we were talking about Trump here with FIFA. We're talking about Trump with Live Golf and the course where they're going. It's just unbelievable. But it is kind of interesting. Like if the Live Golf, the golfers, if it's DeChambeau or Phil Mickelson, whatever, they're going to seize the means of production, Lee. They're going to be owners in the consortium. What do you think of that, Lee? I agree with what the reporters are saying. It may be the death knell.
Yeah, I don't see these guys giving money back. That's why they went there for the first place. Even though it killed their credibility by taking Saudi blood money. I can't see these guys becoming investors. And the other thing is, if this thing goes away, PGA going to let these guys walk across the street and come back? I don't know about that. So that's where we are. What do you think about the horse racing issue?
Well, we've been talking a lot about how the calendar needed to change,
exactly,
to maybe align the Triple Crown races with American holidays, and I like that idea. So it is interesting, and I get why the Kentucky Derby is the big one. Preakness and is Preakness and Pimlico, those are different different races, right?
No, the Preakness is at Pimlico, which is the name of the track.
Okay, then I get those two things confused. But when you start talking about all these like secondary races in the Triple Crown, I just don't understand what makes those other races so special. Why does the Triple Crown have to be those three races? And if they are going to shake it up, they need to do something to keep attention and fans coming out.
Well, there we are at the end of the day. We put a lot of unique topics on the table. You're a soccer fan, FIFA fan, horse racing fan, golf fan. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We get to the top of the hour. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you need to check out the tools section. And to get a sneak preview, go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. Build it, fix it, you will enjoy it at DIXIELINE Lumber. Now, we go to the second part of this podcast. It's called Fans Forum, where those who've jumped into the chat box have a chance to ask questions, make statements, pile in, pile on. John, go ahead.
Okay, you give us a couple of bucks, you go to the top of the line. And this is from Music to My Ears on the YouTube Super Chat. Thank you very much. Hey, July 4th through 11th, 2025, Dodgers went on a 7-game losing streak. What happened in October that year?
Well, I concur that we can wait because there are 50 games left, 5 or so weeks to go in the season, and October's a whole different venue. But they're not right. And if Ohtani cannot be on the mound, and suddenly Ohtani's not hitting consistently because of the knee, that's a little bit of a different batting order. And where are all these hits going to come from the rest of this batting order that's not hit consistently during the season? So that's an item. And now if you don't have Ohtani on the mound, even though you do have SKUBAL and Yamamoto at the front of your rotation, and we just don't know about Snell nor Glasnow, now suddenly, best of 7 series takes on a little bit different look if you don't have this gold standard starting rotation. Or am I just running around the house yelling, fire, fire, John? Go ahead.
Yeah, you're like Chicken Little. You know, the sky is falling. It's not falling. They're going to be fine. The Dodgers are going to be fine because it's all going to come together in these next like 7 or 8 weeks. Don't worry about it. Dodger fans are sitting pretty.
Okay, Music, thank you for joining us. Hit and lead off.
All right, let's go to Sports Fan. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and John, are you going to pick your NFL games and post them on leehacksawhamilton.com?
Yeah, we'll do stuff. I write a lot of NFL football on my website every day. What we'll do on this podcast, once we get to the start of the regular season, we'll cherry pick a couple of top games each Sunday, and we'll talk about the specific matchups and things of that nature. So yeah, you're an NFL fan, this is the place to talk NFL football on this podcast. But that place, my website, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, don't miss it because I write a ton of football. I write a ton of football right now with news and notes from the training camps every day. So get on the website, get on the mailing list too. Okay, John.
Question for you, Lee. Now that we have so much gambling in sports, have you ever thought about enhancing the Hacksaw package to have gambling content or kind of advice on your guaranteed game of the week?
It's a good question. I have not really thought about that because, full disclosure, I work too hard for my money. I don't gamble. But if you think we should add a piece of that to the equation, I'm open to debate over a cup of coffee about how we do that. How do we execute it? Do we use a guest? What do we do on behalf of those that like to give their money to me and you?
I think it'd be fun to do something. I mean, it doesn't have to be like overtly, sports betting, but just making picks and, kind of have on our own little statistics, maybe like our own 2-man division to see how well we can pick the games from week to week.
We'll argue that over coffee and bagels. Okay,
let's keep on going. Callan with a shout out here. And Callan says, hey, afternoon, gents. Looks like the Chucky Lozano saga is finally over. Hallelujah. Hope to see you Monday at Billy Ray's Memorial in Encinitas.
Yeah, they're going to have a gathering on behalf of the late Charger linebacker, Billy Ray Smith. Scott Kaplan, my teammate and friend, is going to anchor it. I'm going to come over. John Quintera's coming over. It'll be kind of a talk show, radio and TV reunion too. So it should be very interesting over in Encinitas. John, I asked you, I never got a response. Is the Chucky Lozano contract a horrible mistake? What SDFC made a mistake on?
I remember when they signed him, it was like in the very, very beginning, right after they got the franchise awarded. I mean, did they even have the general manager? I'm not even sure if he was on board at the time, but everyone was excited locally that he was a name star. And we knew he was a troublesome dude, but we don't really have the full story of what happened in that clubhouse. Something really bad must have gone down.
I agree. Whether he physically threatened Mikey Veras, we don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. But see, at the end of the day, ownership owned those franchises and those academies in Denmark. He played over there. So they knew who he was, what he was all about, and they gave him a contract before they ever hired the front office. So, but it strangled them. I mean, you look at the amount of money it has cost them, $7.6 million last year, and they're paying most of the $9.3 million this year, and they hardly got anything out of it, and it strangled them with the cap in terms of being able to go get other players. So bad deal. As good, as successful as they've been, that's turned out to be an albatross.
An albatross. All right, let's keep on trucking, Lee. Let's go to the O-Siders. Hey, Hacksaw, are you impressed with the San Diego Charger fans completely filling up Torero Stadium on a Tuesday, Wednesday? And John, yes, we are part of the San Diego Charger fans to go to all games in LA and most road games.
It'd be really interesting to find out what the actual number of San Diego-based season ticket holders are. They'd never, ever tell you. But it'd be really interesting to see. The only guiding light numbers I have access to are the TV ratings. When the San Diego Chargers were here at the tail end, and we had pretty good teams at the tail end, the Schottenheimer era, etc., they had a TV ratings of 31. 31 ratings solid. Since they've gone to LA and become the LA Chargers, the TV ratings in this market are 16 for Charger games that are still televised into the market. Now, of course, there's all kinds of other NFL games that are now televised here. So, yeah, there may be a group that go up there, but I don't think it's a hell of a lot. It's not 37,000 as we had 37,000 season ticket holders here in the final years of the San Diego Chargers. So And, to get excited because 2,100 people got free entrance to USD, that does not sell me much of a story. I just have a very hard time accepting the Dean Spanos could strut around USD's campus as if I'm back. All is forgiven. Well, no, all is not forgiven. Not 55 years of loyalty, not from this talk show host or this play-by-play voice, and I think a large segment of the fans. So it's nice that fans go up there. That's great. If that's their chosen team, so be it. I don't know, John, and you'd have to give me your close-up response. I don't know if the Rams, as great as this has been under the Kroenke, McVay era, whether the Rams have become a favorite of San Diego football fan or not. What do you think?
My experience has been that people in San Diego tend to find a team that they want to adopt, and it might be their mother or father's favorite team growing up, and it might be a team like the Bills or the Steelers or the Texans, so people in San Diego have found other ways to channel their energy. But I'll give credit here to Osider, because I've heard this movement that there are San Diego Charger fans that not only go to LA to SoFi, but they go on the road to support this team and to support Dean Spanos's checkbook and his wallet. And that still is surprising to me, but Osiders has proof that it's a real deal. It's a real group, Lee.
I'd love to hear from Osiders as to actually what the number is. We talking 12 people? Are we talking 2,100 people?
It's supposed to be a significant.
Well, significant is what? That's a generic adjective.
Yeah, it is.
We'll see if he can get, back it up with some numbers. Let's just see what they have. It'd be fascinating to see. I'm fascinated to see what this team is going to be like this year, this new offense with that quarterback.
But and that offensive coordinator.
At the end of the day, I can't forgive what that owner did to 55 years of loyalty. How could you ever forgive that? Okay, we move on. Okay. We still haven't gotten over the bad breakup. Okay, let's go to John. He goes, hey, while Casey Mize didn't look that good in his first Padres outing, Tarek Skubal didn't look too good in his first game with the Dodgers either. What's interesting is the two teams with the best record, Milwaukee and Tampa, aren't known for opening their checkbooks. Well, those two teams you're talking about, John, making reference to the Brewers and Rays, are just having phenomenal seasons. But historically, they built it through the farm system, and they have traded young players away to make certain deals. Christian Yelich came to Milwaukee years ago and has become kind of a cornerstone guy. And Tampa's just got great developmental farm system and has done very well in the Caribbean simultaneously. That's a different mode of operation than A.J. Preller at Petco Park. So I thought Skubal pitched pretty well. A bunch of strikeouts early, etc. Dodger problem is they're just not hitting the ball at all. Padre problem is that I think this pitching staff will be okay. To me, the bigger question is not so much Mize and Robbie Ray, because I do think now there are 4 competitive starters there that you can trust to give you quality innings. And the bigger issue is this Padre batting order going to hit? I mean, half that batting order is still substandard as I view it.
But that batting order has been hitting hella good since middle of June. And even someone like Jackson Merrill, I think, has over 40 hits since the beginning of July. So they're putting it together, but, you still have weak spots in the lineup. You're still, if Jace Bowen is in the lineup and, great young man, but you need better talent like that if you expect to go deep in the playoffs.
Well, Sheets is not hitting worth a lick at all. They're getting negligible offensive contribution from whoever is your starting catcher. Bogey is Bogey, and he's just not having a very good season. And yeah, Machado's hitting rocket shot home runs, but last I checked, John, his batting average is 212, 214. We're not greatness here. So, I mean, Tatis has had, I think, a really solid bounce back. And Merrill's hot right now. But let's also, John Duck, I'm going to throw cold water at you. Let's understand this. A chunk of this hot batting order has come against the likes of Miami, Colorado, Kansas City, Toronto's battered pitching staff. So we're not talking about beating really good people here. We're just beating up bad pitching staffs.
Well, look at what happened last night. Matt Bratt, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, only 1 hit. And that's a guy that's never gone deeper than 5 innings in any start, I think, in his career. So, the Padres always seem to find a way to just kind of let us down. Now, see, even if they win tonight, they're only going to split this series, and there's a chance they could lose it and maybe only win one and lose three, and they're starting to slide backwards, Lee.
Yeah, we'll just have to see because they do come home, they get Houston, but Houston's on a bit of a roll. Houston's the best team in the American League West. Can you believe that? I mean, Houston's playing better now, and then the Padres go away, John. They play 16 of 22 away after they get done with the short mini homestand, and they still got to play the Yankees and Dodgers with their great pitching staffs.
Yeah. It's hey, man, it's not a walk in the park. We know that for sure.
Okay,
let's go to Do You Love It? Hey, I'm not excited about rental players, but thank God Mason Miller stays. I think Adrian Morejon should have been traded since we probably won't re-sign him.
No, I totally disagree. They'll re-sign him, new ownership coming in the front door. Now, maybe somebody else is going to exit the scene here. Maybe there will be money that won't go to somebody else. Maybe Musgrove retires if he can't pitch anymore. Maybe they get the Darvish money back. So there may be money they can move to go get Morejon signed. They got to re-sign Morejon. Why not? Why would you not re-sign him? Now, you're not going to give Morejon $30 million just like that the first time he's in free agency, but he's put together 2 really good years. So pay him a chunk to get this thing going. So time will tell, but we still got 50 games to play in a postseason, maybe before we start worrying about contracts in November.
Yeah. This, to your point, the hitting is just so unpredictable sometimes, but I do feel better about the pitching. But when I think of Morejon, I always think about that one year when Preller and Seidler went all in on that international draft because there was no cap on spending. And they ended up paying, 100% taxes on all of that. Morejon was the top of that list. And we were always hoping he was going to be a great starter. And he had flashes of brilliance, got hurt. He's been a great reliever. But it would be nice to have him back. I mean, especially him and his wife, they seem to be kind of part of the family.
Yeah, I think so. So, and again, if they're going to move some dollars around, then they'll have some dollars to invest in Morejon. And, you mentioned that they signed him for $11 million, but because they had overspent, they had to pay $11 million in taxes. That's a $22 million investment in Adrian Morejon. And it took him forever to get here because he was continually hurt and deep in the minor leagues. And he's had 2 rock-solid seasons as a real trustworthy setup guy. So I don't think they're going to let him walk out the door like that. Okay, next one, John.
Next one. Let's go to Teamer. Talk some Chargers. Hey, Herbert has given the media every reason to bash him. Bringing his girl to practice is not a good look, especially since they make an excuse in the book for why he's 0-3 in the playoffs.
Well, end of the day, he's a warrior. I think he's a hell of an athlete. He's an intellect. He's put up on tremendous numbers for a guy that gets bashed. He's had 5 different injuries in about 2.5 years because the support around him has been terrible. I think collectively, John, this is the best group of skilled people he's ever had. Now, we'll just see. This offense is going to be radically different. We'll see what the defense does because the defense effectively figured out Mike McDaniel after about 2 years with Tua. And then Tua started to take some shots and Tua got hurt and suddenly Miami fell apart. So I'll be intrigued to see if this offensive front comes together or whether defenses have so much tape now on the motion packages that they've put into place that they're going to be able to defend them. But I still think Herbert's upper echelon. Is he Hall of Fame Josh Allen? No, he's not. Is he Patrick Mahomes? No, he's not. But I'll tell you what, he's a hell of a quarterback and a hell of a competitor. He just hasn't had enough people around him. So I think that the national media spent this week hammering him. Cheap. That's really cheap because you're not sitting there watching him get pounded week after week and stay in there and try to make plays. Am I right or am I right?
You've always loved the guy. You've always loved Herbert. And he is a great quarterback. I'll give it to you. But he needs to win the big one. He needs to figure out a way to get it done. And as long as Slater and Alt are healthy, I think they got a chance. McCarthy was really raving about Omarion Hampton. He's just talking about what a big, huge athletic specimen he is.
It's going to be interesting because Harbaugh wanted to build a thing to run it first, throw it second. McDaniel's going to throw it, and then we may run it some. Now, he'll throw to the backs. He's going to throw to Hampton. He's going to throw to, they may have stolen a running back. Keaton Mitchell came from Baltimore, and before he got hurt, he had a bad knee injury. He caught and he ran the ball. He was a backup, but man, he made a lot of things happen. Now, you're going to see Keaton Mitchell with Hampton, I think, in the backfield. Okay, we move on.
Let's go to our friend Richard. Hey, since the arrival of SKUBAL, the Dodgers are 0-4 and on a 6-game losing streak, falling faster than Kardashian family values. The current Dodger roster is still better than the healthy ones.
Oh, I think the Dodgers have to prove they can hit. There's a lot of age in that batting order. And we've talked about guys waking up one day being an old man. Mookie still works really hard at playing a really great shortstop, but Mookie's batting numbers are way off. Muncy does pop home runs, but Muncy's batting average is not good. Freddie Freeman is rock solid, but Freddie Freeman is not a 300 hitter anymore. So, and Teoscar Hernandez looks to be a shell of himself. You talk about old player, boy, he doesn't look right. And for $60 million, I'm sorry, I want more than a 241 batting average and an occasional home run for Kyle Tucker. Does any Dodger fan out there agree with me that that side of the equation is kind of disappointing or maybe worrisome? John's opinion is, shut up. Just wait till October. We'll show you. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, even when they stumble, they still are okay. And yeah, maybe they don't have the number one record in the National League right now, but they'll get it back by the end of the season. They will.
Okay.
Let's go to Alejandro. Hey, which teams are going to win the World Series this year?
Well, you look at the standings. Atlanta's doing this and have played most of the season without Ronald Acuna. Atlanta's doing this with one established starting pitcher. Virtually all those other guys outside of Chris Sale have been on the disabled list for long periods of time. Think about how impressive that is. And look at Tampa. I mean, outside of Junior Caminero, can you name anybody in Tampa's starting lineup? And look at their one-loss record and their pitching. They've been kind of rock solid. Now, the Yankees have got arms, and it looks like the Yankee arms are all getting healthy. But we just don't know whether Judge plays in September and October. We don't know whether Bellinger comes back from the hamstring. They're saying 6 weeks. I don't think we'll see Stanton ever again. So the Yankees may have pitching. So, there's some really good teams. Is Boston for real? Well, they're 25-3 right now, and everybody's contributing. And the pitching, there's no Cy Young Award pitcher on that staff, but their pitching's pretty good, but the hitters have been really good. Cubs are scary. Cubs right now, and the Cubs have had just a mess of pitching injuries, and now they're getting everybody back healthy, and they made all these trades at the deadline. Cubs could be scary because they're playing really well collectively. They got a great defense. They do hit home run balls. So, we got a month and a half. We got 5 weeks, 6 weeks to go in the baseball season, 50-plus games for everybody. But these hot teams, I don't think we could have projected any of these teams that might be a World Series team. John, could you?
Well, the Dodgers are the World Series team. I mean, let's be real. Like you said, they're in a different galaxy. And I'm thinking of the American League teams and, maybe Boston, maybe Tampa. Unsure on the American League side. But, it's interesting you brought up the Cubs because PCA has been on fire lately, not only offensively, but defensively. There's a lot of people that think he should be the MVP over Shohei Ohtani. What do you think of that? Well,
we still got another 5 weeks to go. Remember, Peter Crow Armstrong's also had stretches where he's hit 220 and got benched. He had that first great half season when he got to the show, and the second half last year was, he disappeared. And then he had a slow start here, and now he's just raging hot like an oil fire. Now, can he continue this? He's a great player. Man, there's no doubt that there's great athletic skill there, and he's got power, and he'll go chase anything down anywhere in the outfield at Wrigley. He's a really good ball player. But good ball players have stretches like this, and he's had a couple of these stretches too, so we'll see. But the intangible is Jed Hoyer stockpiled arms, and they had terrible pitching injuries early, from Imanaga to Matt Boyd, and now they got them all back healthy, and they made all those trades. They got 3 pitchers at the trade deadline. So Chicago looks very scary to me, and Dansby Swanson's having a hell of a year, and Bregman, although Bregman's not putting up quote superstar numbers, Bregman is played really consistently, and PCA's having right now is just a real hot streak. So, yeah, Cubs. I don't know that I want to play the Cubs right now in the postseason. That's for certain.
Well, they got Kevin Gossman from the Blue Jays, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, they are loaded. So I mean, it's just isn't it great? I mean, we're in summer. It's the summertime for baseball, but soon we're going to start feeling that September drive for the pennant. We're going to be into October and the playoffs. I mean, it's baseball right now. To me, baseball is surging right now, relative to other sports. The NFL is still king, but right now I think the baseball is on a greater ascent than any of the other major sports.
And we'll just put aside any conversation about lockout, shutdown, strike, CBA. Let's just move that to the side window. Okay, John, carry on.
Carry on. Okay, got to go to Fonzie J. Rodriguez. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, I want to talk sports with you. This isn't the Padre year, no matter what they do. Mize and Ray aren't the saviors.
Well, those guys could put them in the playoffs. They traded to put themselves in the playoffs. Now, whether they can go deep in the playoffs, that's all dependent on the batting order. I mean, if Manny can ever be Manny again with Tatis, and Jackson Merrill no longer hits 212 and becomes what Jackson Merrill was for a year and a half, then they're going to be dangerous. There'll be dangerous matchup problems. But are they going deep into October? I don't think they're going deep into October. And then we'll have a reset button as to who stays, who goes, in terms of what they do with this pitching situation, because there's money out there that they could retake and get back to go fortify this pitching, because there is no pitching at AAA or AA now after the trade deadline. No way. They're not even Jackson Wolf anymore. Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to make a run with these guys, but I am hopeful that Pivetta or Musgrove might be able to at least return and contribute. I don't know if they're going to be guys you can count on in the starting rotation. But it would be nice just for their careers to come back. And Vasquez, by the way, has been looking really, really good his last 3 or so outings.
That's an odd outing or two. You're going to have to argue with me a little bit that I can believe what I'm seeing, because I don't believe what I'm seeing on the odd occasion. Yes, on the odd occasion, yes, that was a good outing or two, but consistency. But he's now a back of the rotation guy. He's your fifth guy, which is okay.
He was the top guy for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go here to Dave Dog. Hey, let's build that Chula Vista Bayfront 80,000 seat stadium.
Well, I'll believe that if I see it. I don't know that I'm going to see that in the foreseeable near future because of the economics of our country and our world. Nice idea, nice ideology, but I just don't know.
Well, that's not going to, who's going to pay for it? Are you going to expect taxpayers to kick in to build a big ass stadium and then hope and pray that the NFL decides to relocate a team here? And if they're going to do any expansion, it's going to be international, wouldn't it, Lee?
Yes, I think so. And the other factor, who's going to build it? And even if they do expand, who's going to pay for an expansion team on top of whoever pays for the stadium? It's just the economics don't pencil out at all.
They don't. No, not at all. It's wishful thinking, but I think that those horses have left the barn, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's switch over here and get some social media comments in. And okay, this is a good one. And this is from, excuse me. There it is. This is from Mr. Listen to Me, Please. The Padres haven't won the NL West in 20 years, since 2006. They beat the Dodgers once in the playoffs 3 years ago. The Padres have to celebrate that postseason NLDS victory as if it was the World Series, because that's all they've got. While the Dodgers have won 3 World Series in the past 6 years and 12 of the last 13 NL West division titles. Rubbing it in, Lee.
No argument. The scoreboard does not lie. End of the day, we've had a nice run in the Seidler era. We're moving on to the Feliciano era. Probably mid-August, the sale finally gets approved. Be intrigued to see what the offseason is. It's obvious to me that the Felicianos approved Preller's trades because they increased the payroll by about $6 million. They now have a $9 million tax bill on top of all the other money that they've paid. So now we'll see what the Feliciano number is. Do they move money around? Do they move players out? Do they give him more money to go get? It's going to be very interesting to see what the mode of operation is going forward. But the Dodgers are who the Dodgers are. And the Padres have tried really hard and made Petco Park a destination point, made baseball really big in this market, but they haven't gotten to the World Series. So, end of the day, that's where we are. I think A.J. Preller traded this team into this playoff, but I think he also traded to try to save his job.
I don't know. To me, it's like you're comparing apples and oranges, you know? The way, like you say, the Dodgers are like in a different galaxy. And sure, Dodger fan likes to kick little boy Padre fan down, kick dirt in his face. I get the whole rivalry angle, and it's not a rivalry angle and all that. But let's, just think it through. I mean, the Dodgers are great. I mean, they've got a great organization. They seem to make every good decision in the book. But the Padres, you have to give them credit. I mean, it's not like we're back in the old days where Kevin Towers was having to do dumpster diving. The Padres are legitimately trying to win. And we can criticize A.J. Preller's decisions here or there, but overall, I think Preller has made this team relevant. The fans are still showing up. I don't know if they're selling out every game, but they're coming damn close to it. So the Padres have still captured the imagination of San Diego, and you got to just give credit that they're in it. This could have been an easy year for them to say, hey, we're gonna cash out our chips, but no, they went in and gambled more and went out and got some more pieces. You got to give credit where credit's due. It's
a great baseball town, and I as much as we may critique AJ for this decision, that transaction, the expensive money. At the end of the day, the reason Petco Park is so superb is the product on the field, and he's responsible for the product on the field as a wheeler dealer. So I may question the disappointment that we haven't gotten to a World Series yet, John. You and I have yet to have a beer sitting along the third base side, but end of the day, this product is pretty cool because it's a baseball town. He's made this a baseball town, and I think credit to Preller there. Okay, do a couple more here.
We got to squeeze this thing out, Lee. Let's wrap it up. We say under 2 hours.
Listen, bottom line, we're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Wide variety of topics on the table. Invite you to check my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. You will really like what I write daily. Subscribe, join Hacksaw's Insiders group so you can get on the email list. Share, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays. Also, check in that website because we put a lot of extra videos there. When you subscribe to that, you'll get the alert every time the video is there. And you can help us grow this thing. Be our best friends. Be our supporters. Thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. John, take a deep breath. Enjoy Hall of Fame game, Hall of Fame festivities. We'll see what this next 2 series with the Padres brings us because we'll be back here Monday to talk about it all at 1:30. John, you have yourself a great sports weekend.
You too, Lee. Have a great one.
And thank you for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.